So I wanted to go a little bit further. I was talking about the meditation in my last one, how I was talking to Papa, and I kind of went full circle with the religion and the spirituality and the awakening. And I've been on quite the journey this lifetime, as many of us have, because we're at that time in the photon belt, right, with the golden age before us. And I'm so thankful that I get to be in a body to actually witness this. Some days I'm not, but some days I am, right? So it took me down this little rabbit hole today, and I chose science over spirituality. I chose medicine over miracles. And I always say that as I've been on this journey with awakening and opening my gifts further and using them for the collective good, for the good of humanity, right? I realized that practice what you preach, right? So God is going to make me go there today. And I might get emotional. So I'm warning you now. So throughout my journey, I had a really hard time wanting to stay here, right? I was born into a family of 5. I had 2 sisters. Both of my sisters now have angel wings. And I'm the longest living sibling. And right out of the gates, I was premature. I had a lot of health issues. And as I grew and evolved, I teetered between my faith and fear of that faith, and I resisted a little bit of, well, why do I have to be baptized? Why do I have to do this? I mean, I was seeing Jesus as a child, and with my physical eyes and with my third eye. But of course, I just labeled myself weird because nobody else talked about these gifts. And I was always told that I had a great imagination and I shouldn't talk about those things. But again, I kept running into health issues. I was always, I have a double ear infection. I have a double hernia. I have this. I have that. It was all these things. And I thought, why can't I get this right? What is wrong with me? And as I got older, now I'm going to jump way ahead. And when my son was 2 years old, and I think my daughter was 8. Yeah, she was 8. I had to count that out in my head. I was hospitalized and was in a coma. And when I came out, I didn't know that there were other issues wrong with me. It took me almost a year to figure it out. And I went back to the doctor and I said, something's wrong with me and I don't feel right. Like, things are happening that don't make sense. Like, I'm losing time. I'm afraid because I have 2 children I'm raising. My husband's on the road. I'm working part-time and I'm a mom, right? So they further investigated and realized that I had a brain tumor. At the time, they didn't know what that was. They actually were calling it a flesh something disease and all this weird stuff. But then they figured out, okay, it's a brain tumor. Well, throughout the course of 10 to 12 years, it grew every time I went, right? I was on seizure medication. I lost my license for a year, all these things. And I really hated being on the medicine, but I was listening to the doctor. They wanted to do brain surgery, and I said, no, let's just watch it. So over this course of time, it became this big thing, right? And it was really hard for me because every 3 months I had to sit down and write a will to my children and letters to my children, knowing that this may be the time that I have to have brain surgery and that I might not be okay. And at that time, I don't know what it is now. I know they've come a long way. My children are adults. I'm now a grandma. But at the time, they said that they had to do the brain surgery while I was awake and that I might not make it through it. And even if I did, I would be disfigured. I would lose my cognitive abilities and all these things, and I might not remember my children. And I was thinking, then why the heck do I want to have this surgery? I get freaking nuts, right? What the hell? Seriously, I was thinking, why would I want to do that? Why would I choose that? So there was fear. So I stayed on the medication, which threw me into full-blown seizures, and I had to keep changing medication. Anyone that's been on seizure medication knows. It's not a one-time, one and done, right? So that being said, I kept choosing to go back every 3 months, and I wasn't living. I was living short little bursts of time, but I wasn't living fully to my potential because that was always looming in the back of my head. And you know how you say limit or labels limit you? Well, sometimes labels can level you up because you want to know what's wrong with you, and it gives substance or validation to what's wrong with you. How many of you are walking out there, they said, oh, you have anxiety, oh, you have PTSD, oh, you have trauma, oh, you have cancer, oh, you have heart disease, oh, you have Crohn's disease or fibromyalgia or a brain tumor, right? Well, here we go, right? So, and then later on, I was diagnosed, I got bit by a tick a second at a time, and then I was diagnosed with fibromyalgia. I mean, I can go on and on and on all day about this, but getting back to the brain tumor thing. So, 12 years in, right, my last doctor's visit with my neurologist led to, oh, your tumor has grown. It is now has fingers and it has meninges and goes up around your brain. They showed me the MRI and I went, okay, here's that moment. Here's doomsday, right? And I looked at the doctor. I had to meet with a neurosurgeon. This was like a 5-hour appointment between this and that, right? This doctor gave me my life back. I asked him after I listened to everything he had to say. I went ahead and asked him, and I've talked about this in my NDE podcast that I did with my friend Emily. Anyway, it went, I asked him, I said, if this was your wife, your sister, your daughter, your blah, 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 what would you tell them looking at this? And he said, you've been living with it this long. He said, Lisa, go home and live your life. Enjoy your life. Just keep checking it if you feel you need to. And just trust. And I grabbed his hands and I started to cry and I said, thank you for giving me my life back. That's when I knew. I needed to trust. I needed to dig into my faith and trust the miracle. And you know what I called that brain tumor at that moment? I walked out of that office, I canceled all of my appointments, and I never looked back. And I said, this brain tumor is not a brain tumor. This is the hand of God. This is the hand of God, and He is going to guide me till the day I need to go home. And guess what? That was 20-some years ago. So science and spirit need to collide. Medical and miracles need to collide. No more of this fear. Have faith, people. That's what I'm telling you. So that's my message today. So I hope that this helps somebody out there. And I'm not saying you should throw caution to the wind and not listen to the doctor's help. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is you need to marry the two together so that you can make the decision that is best for you, for your family, for your friends, for you and your heart and your soul, so that you can live and you can soar the way you're supposed to. So I hope this helps you. Love, light, and blessings.